I'm here to talk about dynamic marketing. Early on the piece, there's a product called Segmentation. I say early on the piece, I started working with it when it first was released into the market. Realized that no one else wanted to do it, so I just became my own little vertical. And for anyone out there starting their consulting profession, that's my biggest piece of advice: find yourself a tool that no one else wants to touch and own it. So if you're in your organization and no one wants to own Power Apps, just take it. No one wants to own marketing, take it, because I tell you what, there's always work when people need to go to you to ask the questions, right? So, and the other benefit is that I get every question asked of me. So I can, if I don't know the answer, I can go find out the answer. So therefore, by definition, I should know more about marketing than most. So hopefully, today I can cover off a little bit about it. It is one of those topics I could talk for a whole day on marketing. I really could. So there is a quick fire on the feature list at the end because I can only cover so much in 45 minutes. So when I do get to that, just watch as I pace through all the features. But apart from that, ask questions as we go. I will be asking a question at the end to pick yourself up a t-shirt, and because I'm first, you get the pick of the litter in terms of sizing. So, and then after this, we have a break. So literally come talk to me during that break, ask me any questions. If I'm not covering anything here, again, just ask me. If there's nothing I can't answer, again, it's my best interest. I'm going to go find the answer and ping you on LinkedIn to tell you the answer. So please, I encourage difficult questions. I will be sitting down at some point. Right now, for camera people, I might use this little slider to steer me. So for us, like today, we're going to be covering this. But as I said, I can talk far more. So the most common question I get is why would you use Dynamics 365 Marketing? I've used ClickD for years. I'm using Marketo. I'm using MailChimp. I'm using HubSpot. I love them all. Why would I use Dynamics 365 for marketing? We've got a lot around the contact-driven marketing. A lot of people are quite keen to jump on marketing, but their actual data model of their CRM system isn't necessarily catered to fit Dynamics for marketing. So I need to call that out because it's one of those things that if you've got a consulting company you're working with and you want to go down marketing, work with them because they're going to know the things that you need to know about your system to make sure it works. It's really important that we've finally got leads now supported, but prior to about 6 months ago, it was contacts only. So important. This is the other most common question I get. Michael, when do I use real-time marketing? When do I use outbound marketing? There's a massive difference between the two. So I'm covering that off. And everything I covered today, as frustrating as it is, product-wise, there's actually 2 versions of everything. So 2 versions of the email editor, 2 versions of the journey, and 2 versions of segmentation. So as I play back everything, I'll be playing it back twice. So that's why it's really important to listen here, because otherwise you're going to be lost for why there's 2 different versions as we go here. And then lastly, my favorite feature out of the box that just works from end to end is by far the event management piece. So I want to take a bit of time to walk you through that event management, sort of show what you can get out of the box without paying really anything apart from a tiny bit of data entry. And then lastly, as I said, there's 15 other features. So that's 10 minutes and that's the other 30. So here goes nothing. Why Dynamics 365 Marketing? The biggest reason and the most likely reason I would recommend Dynamics 365 Marketing is its ability to seamlessly integrate with your Dynamics platform and your Power Platform and your Microsoft stack. Right. So traditionally, what tends to happen is you end up with a solution that looks a bit like this. Most organizations have this. They have maybe Dynamic CRM. If they're lucky, they have this thing that they think they do called email marketing, but normally they don't. It's just mass communications. They may have a social tool, HubSpot, something over here. They may have some sort of web forms, or they've got an Umbraco website that they're building some web forms on. They've got some bespoke survey tool that someone implemented 10 years ago. And then they think they've got website analytics, but none of it connects to any of the real data. So really, they've just got a bunch of stats. So that's the most common scenario we come across. We're like, we need a simple solution. And right now, we can't trigger an automated journey through Dynamics off a submitted form. You know, people are visiting our websites. We can't even tell what websites they're visiting, who they are specifically that is visiting those websites. So at a bare minimum, having a standalone marketing tool that connects into Dynamics is still better than the one above, the one before this. The one before this was chaos. This is bringing a bit more structure into it. We may have a standalone marketing tool. Marketo is probably the most common scenario here. We have invested 15 years in Marketo. We're not moving anytime soon. It's enterprise grade. It fits our need. No worries. We'll build a connector between the two. Very logical. There's one that comes out of the box. So This is also cool and all, but again, anyone who knows much about like good integration patterns, we still know about a whole bunch of data being sent between two different systems. If you know anything about Microsoft API calls, you're probably hitting a bunch with API calls that you're about to be charged for sometime soon. So what we recommend is actually having a single platform. Now here I've called it Microsoft Dynamics 365. I kind of struggle a bit with the name, whether you want to call it Power Platform, whether you want to call it Dataverse, whatever you want to call it, it lives within inside a single solution of tools. So that by far is the most common scenario of why we should use Dynamics marketing. Right, we're sick of having our sales team separate from our marketing team. We're sick of having our reps go outside, get a bunch of leads, but then not know how to nurture it, not know how to all interconnect. So the benefit of this is that when I'm a salesperson, I'm in a CRM customer record or contact record, I can see all the interactions across my event management solution. I can see all the interactions of people hitting my website, all the form submissions. I can see it all within inside one place. And if you talk to customers, the most common thing that everyone wants is the 360-degree view of the customer. And often we need to use Power BI and those sort of insights tool to shove it all together. Whereas, at least from a marketing perspective, it comes out of the box. Go on. Any questions at this stage? No, cool. Don't mind me. I've got these timings at the top right. I'm going to try and keep on time, but we'll see how I go. I've got Rich to look at me evilly if I take too long. Yeah, please, not the full bottle of Coke. So this is one of those really important things that we had to get across early on because not enough people quite understood this. Most enterprise-grade marketing tools out there see a contact as a single thing. Like look at likes of Marketo, an email address from a lead automatically gets converted to a contact. You can't have a lead and a contact because they treat that email address as a single source. So we used to, originally in marketing, Dynamics marketing, have to force every communicated record to be a contact. So that means if you wanted to target communications to a lead, well, before you had to match that lead to a contact. If you couldn't match it to a contact, you'd have to write a workflow to create the contacts. Then now you've got a contact on that lead. You could target them for marketing, communications, all sorts of stuff, but you couldn't then leverage information from the lead. So if you had like a lead source field and you wanted to, for example, be able to easily determine, we want to confirm we saw you at this event, and the lead source, you want to pass it into the body of an email. You couldn't do that because it was only driven at contacts. You could put a list of all the leads a contact has, but that's a big grid. It doesn't make any sense. So thankfully, and this is why I'm covering off what's new, finally have lead marketing. But you'll see there's a common thread here. It's only available in real-time marketing. So if you want to do an outbound customer journey, you can only target contacts. However, if you want to target leads, you can do it all via real-time marketing. So it's important to understand that for an organization that maybe didn't necessarily always have a contact attached to leads, that day one, this became a very difficult solution to implement because we had to redesign the whole system to be contact focused. So as a result, then there was a particular customer that we literally had to write a whole bunch of workflows and automation just to be able to match contacts to leads so that we could market to them. Thankfully, with real-time marketing, now you can trigger on when a lead is created, when a lead is converted, when a lead field is updated. You can now do anything you want at that lead level, but you can only do it in real-time marketing. So it's a lot to cover, but it's kind of important for us to know where we've come from, because if we know where we've come from, then straight away you can put your mind and go, okay, well, if I'm outbound, I just have to kind of assume I'm in contact. So if a customer says, oh, I really love the outbound, for example, customer journey tool, cool, yeah, so do I. But you want to target leads? Yeah, no, don't, you can't. So understanding that's really important, and understanding that there is a fundamental difference between outbound marketing is important. So what is it? It seems like buzzwords, Michael, real time. Is it exactly as it says? It is exactly how it says. It's designed for real-time triggers. So what that means is configuring, if you've got an app, for example, and you're at field days and someone walks into the field days and they join your Wi-Fi. Well, the whole point of real-time marketing is you can build a trigger to hook into that. then automatically send them an email or a text to say, thanks for coming to our store. Make sure you come get a free coffee. And by the way, here's a token for a free drink. So it's about real-time interactions. So when a lead is created, do a thing. When a field is updated, do a thing. Real-time is also more multi-channel out of the box. So real-time, well, I mentioned apps, also supports SMS engine and also supports email. Now, let me help you with the SMS thing, because the most common thing people are going to go, cool, SMS. I've seen all these demos online. I can't wait to use the out-of-the-box SMS offering. I see that I can go through Twilio.com and there's 2 providers of it. Problem is, and the rest of the world won't tell you this, New Zealand actually doesn't have any options on those providers to do two-way text messaging. So if you want to do marketing communication and just send dumb texts, no problem. You can sign up to Twilio, you pay you less than 20 cents a message. You can now quite happily send outbound text messages. But if you want that person to be able to reply, not an option. So if you do have a direct SMS need, work with your partner, they'll provide a solution. There's many ways around it. We can find a solution, whether it be, often partners will build SMS ISVs because every customer in the world these days wants SMS options. It's actually important why they want SMS options. What's happened over the last 2 years is the email address is not unique. Me and my wife share an email address. So straight off the bat, you have a confusion of 2 people with the same email address. You've got similarities between email addresses, names, and people of the same household. Like, I didn't realize, and I don't know exactly what race it is, but there's a given race where every member, no, not race, there's a given culture where every member of the family has the same name and they live in the same household. So first name, last name, and even physical address no longer work as uniqueness. What we're finding is SMS is by far the most easy way to get your customers. I do a lot of work for a vehicle manufacturer and a vehicle servicing center. What they're finding is that people actually respond to text messages. They don't respond to emails anymore, right? Gmails of the world and those sort of tools are so smart at filtering out what they deem spam that 9 times out of 10 these messages aren't even getting to people. Whereas a text message, it hits the person's pocket. Good example. I mean, I've had my cell phone number since I was 18. A lot of people tend to have cell phone numbers for a long period of time. Gone are the days where you join a company and every time you get a company phone with often it's BOD on your phone number now as well. So that's why it's important to understand SMS options. Outbound is your traditional, invite people to an event, wait for 3 days before the event, send communication out. It's event management, it's forms, it's everything that isn't covered by real time, funnily enough. Before real time existed, it was only outbound. I'm not going to answer the question today why we're moving so far away from having 2 separate solutions. And as I show you today, you'll start to realize that there are very much 2 separate solutions for marketing, outbound and real time. And sometimes you need to use both. If you've never used marketing solution and you're starting from scratch today and you want to go on the journey, start with real time and then use outbound if you need to. Because real time is where all the investment on new features is going, just from what we're seeing unofficially. Real time is a far better front-end user experience. Conditional formatting is all drag and drop mouse click, whereas in outbound it's code. So if you've got a new customer or you're looking at going down the journey, you want to start up a trial, play with real time first. Yeah. So let's check on time. We're not doing too bad. We're in 2 minutes behind. Excellent. Email marketing. Everyone loves this. What's that, Michael? What you see is what you get. So it's a marketing term, and what it means is when I'm building my email on screen, what I'm seeing as I'm building that screen is what the customer is getting. It couldn't be that simpler. So while it looks like a stupid acronym, it actually is an industry acronym, and everyone in the marketing world will know what you're talking about if you say it's got a WYSIWYG editor. Now, everyone has a WYSIWYG editor, so it's all about how well that WYSIWYG editor works. So that's another reason marketers are a unique bunch. They love their tools. They love the way they currently work. So trying to get people across to, especially marketers, to a new tool when the rest of the organization has moved across to the Power Platform, often those marketers are the last ones to be able to move across. Give them playing with the WYSIWYG editor, get them using the system first, and often that will just sort of leave them, because once they realize, oh, it does the same thing as my current tool, oh, it does enterprise grade, oh, cool, I can still do conditional and smart logic, but they turn around pretty quickly. So be aware when you are rolling in email marketing, marketers have a specific way of doing things. In terms of like the what it is, I remember a famous quote from Click Dimensions. Click Dimensions once said, it's a Click Dimensions is another marketing tool. Once said, if you're using us for marketing emails only, go get MailChimp. Because we kind of expect email marketing is the 101 of a marketing tool. Like if a marketing tool did nothing but email marketing, marketers would still use it. Because at the end of the day, email marketing is and has been that initial force of that channel to communicate to customers. Now, as I said before, it is moving towards more SMS. But let's face it, there is something beautiful about being able to build a nice, rich email, and it's far better than being able to send a text. So often we recommend customers that we do both, let the customer define their preference moving forward, and then only target their preference after that. But it's pretty standard stuff like no code, drag and drop, all your templates, predefined content blocks. From a personalization perspective, I'm going to show you that, and it's going to resonate far more when I show you, but being able to conditionally logic stuff. So my example today, we're sending out an invite to this event, and we're using the city to change the banner image to either be online if you don't have a city defined, the Christchurch one if it's Christchurch, the Auckland one if it's Auckland, and the Wellington one if it's Wellington. So not only just, hi, John, but also being able to go, oh, your product is this, or you're a VIP, so you get another offer, or potentially you've got parking included with your ticket, so we're going to include a parking section. So instead of building 5 different emails and then having to figure out who do I send what, you just build one email, conditionally the logic, so when you send it, depending on who you are, it'll either show and hide different sections for you. And that's again, like when I talk about the real-time personalization menus is stupid simple. AI is really cool in Dynamics marketing. The most common 2 things listed there are time-based AI. So it's smart enough when you're building a customer journey. And this is the fun thing when using outbound marketing. And you can tell it to send at the optimal time for the recipient. So it uses AI to determine what the most appropriate time to send that communication is based on previous interactions. So the customer is normally opening up an email on Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the morning. Well, their automation will trigger at Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the morning. As opposed to another person who always opens up their email at midnight at night. They will get theirs at midnight. So AI via outbound is all time-based. AI via real-time is channel-based. So again, you can now send one message via push notification, SMS, and email. And based on what the recipient has previously interacted with, it will then send them via that channel. So instead of having to do that annoying, what's your preference? Well, you can still do that, but actually the system will also do it for you. And then your standard stuff, A/B testing. Again, real-time versus outbound. Subscription center for managing contact subscription preferences, as opposed to content center for managing lead-based SMS and email preferences. And then the insight stuff. One of the most common things people don't realize is Microsoft built a pre-built Power BI dashboard for marketing that you can go and grab and use as your starter for 10. The most common issue we have with adoption these days is people are used to everything living in the database. So with the likes of Click Dimensions and old tools, everything lived in Dynamics. So you could just write queries and you could manipulate it to your heart's content because we're Dynamics consultants. We can do what we want. It's not quite the same anymore. The data lives in a separate database, which lives alongside your Dynamics tenant, and therefore you actually need to use Power BI to interrogate it, or Power Apps. So, I'm going to jump into a very quick demo. Oh, sorry. And what I just want to really just show is just a couple of things. Because remember I said like the best way to adopt is to get familiar with the system and see it. So what I want to do is just show a couple of really cool features I really like. These are new features. So branding. Love it. So now we can actually send an email, build one template for our email, but then pass a brand on that email, and then all the links in that email will update contextually based on the brand you select. So what it means is, I couldn't put more cliche brands, but let's just say the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform brand. What you'll see is I've set this up, and I've been able to configure my own fields in the background. So, if there's brand IDs, UTM codes, in this case, I've set up a service manager and a service manager email address. You can define senders. So you pre-build all your senders. So when you're doing your outbound campaigns, you can just pick email events and it's going to pre-populate with the from address. I've even got Satya. So if you want to send it as part of Microsoft CEO, you can easily do that. So once you pick the brand, I now get to filter to which sender I want. And then it goes one step further to the social links. But this is now just an end-to-end dynamics that I can customize to my heart's content. So these 4 fields here I've added just to prove concepts. And so now I can use any of these variables inside my email template, build one template, and then depending on if I'm sending it to Dynamics customers or if I'm sending it to Office 365 customers or SharePoint customers, I can just have the one template, update the brand, and then all the links, all the variables that you use with inside that email now automatically update.
Can you also change CSS style it?
Not yet. What you'll do in that would be you'd probably use a template at that point. Yeah, there's not much yet at this point around CSS, especially around email templates. Yeah. So in terms of that, I've now got all these great variables. I now want to create an email. So I've got this beautiful email message I have created. Now, it did do a little brain fart on me before. I pray maybe hard enough to the demo gods. So I may just have to do a very quick show and tell outside of that. Maybe I'll use this one here. Here's what I have also prepared earlier. Of course, it's got a script because, again, didn't pray hard enough to the demo god. So just so you know, this is not a demo 2 days ago. So this is very much a throwaway demo. What I will just show you, though, is that, this is the editor at a real-time level. And I'll be really quick to show you the conditional stuff because I did have something pre-built and it would be nice to show you. And if it doesn't decide to behave with me today, I will move past it. Life will be okay. Just know that it's a really, really, just picture me clicking on an image and then being able to go, cool, I want this conditional. And it's just going to say, well, what do you want it conditional on? And I'm going to go, I want it conditional on city equals Auckland. What happens now is it just creates 4 variants or however many variants you have, and you can change all the content in each one of those blocks on each one of those variants. So whether it be a whole content block of everything and you do a whole fresh one of those for each condition you check, it doesn't matter, especially with real-time marketing. So apologies about that not working, but I have prepared outbound marketing for you, which does appear to be working. So as I can see, here's one I prepared earlier. This degree of conditional logic is going to be a little different because it's outbound marketing. But what I can do is anywhere there's text within inside the body, so let's just say there's that text there, or there's this text in here, I can come in and personalize it. So we can click personalize. And what I can do when I'm personalizing, I'll just pull any dynamic content from the system. So we can go ahead and dynamic content, and it's going to go, cool, what content do you want to pass? And we're going to go, we want contact information. Cool, what relationship do you want? Is it contact relation? No, just the contact, please. Cool, what do you want to display? I want to display full name. And so you come down and you go and find your field called full name, or in my case, you scroll way too far and you pick suburb or something. Doesn't actually matter. It's the concept, right? Let's just use first name, last name's fine. So what you've now put in there, it says coming to your office right now, bracket, Mr. last name. I know it's a bad example, but the concept right is there. You'll be able to pass variables in. But what I can't do in outbound marketing, I can't default this. So I can't say, if last name doesn't contain data, make it valued customer. And I know that's 101, and it's very frustrating you can't do it here, which is another reason I encourage people to play with it before they do it, just to make sure they're happy with it. I'm going to refresh my page from cache, just because it would be nice if I can show you. I was telling Karen, I had all the slides ready to go. And then when I'm prepping, I'm closing all my tabs, and I choose to close the tab that has all my demo waiting to go. So you would have seen me mad rushing a couple of seconds out from this demo, and it was just quickly open all my tabs. But that's fine. It's not there today because of a script error. That was nowhere near as impactful as it would have or could have been, but it's okay because I was running a little bit behind time. And so sometimes these things happen for reasons, right? So now I'm actually not behind when it comes to my time. I don't believe I am not. I'm actually, well, I'm a little behind, that's right. So customer journey mapping is the other most commonly used part of Dynamics. So we've got these lovely emails, we've got all these beautiful forms, we may even have an event, but I want to do a repeatable set of processes so that I don't have to set task reminders, Outlook reminders. If you talk to marketers, they often say on the day of the event, I have a calendar invite in my invite and it says, make sure you send a follow-up email to say, we can't wait to see you. That's crazy. Or even like, oh, a lead came in last night, I'll better send them an email. Well, if you're doing anything like that manual, jump on a whiteboard, get a pen and draw up the automated process. And what you can do is you literally can almost do it identical in Dynamics. So I recommend you do it on a whiteboard for us. Okay, so send email, wait, if isn't opened, wait 3 days and send follow-up email with the content slightly different. If no open, then create a task for an account manager to call the customer, see why they're not coming to our event. If they have unsubscribed, create a task for an account manager to reach out and say, hey, what can we do for you? Like you can build up a series of repeatable tasks. Again, outbound, real time, slightly different. With outbound, I can still do all my templates, but I can do concurrent swim lanes. So I can have 2 schools of thought going through my journey at one point in time. I can easily create task, phone call, appointment templates, all out of the box. You know, you predefine who you want to go to. I can target marketing lists, which is a cool thing for anyone that's used old Dynamics and they're still using marketing lists. You need to use outbound to target marketing lists. There's a bit of built-in AI insights, as I told you before, about the time-based distribution, not to be confused with channel-based distribution. And lastly, probably the biggest thing is there's no ability to create custom triggers in your outbound journey. So I talked about the scenario before about the person who goes to field days, who signs up to the Wi-Fi and gets an email. That's a custom trigger. Microsoft doesn't have one for those out of the box that you cannot build on. It's thankfully that simple, as opposed to real time, still has all the nice templates. Introduces goal-based targets, so you can set things like I want 70% of people to open my email as part of this journey, and you can measure your goal, which I'm showing you. You can build custom Power Automation triggers. So again, it actually opens up Power Automate. So we all know that Power Automate is an imagination's dream. Anything you can imagine, you can do via Power Automate. Multi-channel, mentioned before, Outbound doesn't have multi-channel, real-time does. Built-in insights, and probably the biggest things over here. No multiple swim lanes. No out-of-the-box activity templates. So if you want to just create a task for an account manager to do a thing, you have to do that by Power Automate. And there are no templates. I put it here because as a trick, I just tell people to save it as dash template and you can clone. But when you open an outbound one, it pops up with the template window. You can pre-build them in advance. Unfortunately, real-time does not have that. And this is just a very quick look at the goal tracking. So you'll see we've had a goal and we've been trying to reach 100%, but we're currently at 82%, which is about 1,600. The reason I've got this one on the outbound is this one is a little cooler from an insights perspective because you can see the flow of records in this one. So what we can see is we started with 4,100, 2,700. So based on the loyalty, 2,700 of them have gone through to the offer, and 1,400 have gone through another channel. But we can easily see based on the size that, oh, okay, you can see most people are coming through here, and then we're doing a bit of an A/B test. But it's useful. You can also see tracking over time. It's really, really cool, which the outbound one doesn't have. Before I move across to segments, have we got any questions?
What happens, obviously tracking by email provides customer opening message and there's being a beacon in there.
Yep.
What if the customer has what as Outlook always has, doesn't actually open?
Yep. So that one there, you lose the ability to read the insights, but that's where all outbound emails from a marketing standpoint should always have a call to action, where the call to action takes them to your website. That's often why you get read more ... That's not them being courteous to you. That's encouraging you to want to know more, to click. Because the second you click, that cookie, and assuming they don't have cookie disabled, which is most people don't, unless you're in IT, it tracks. So whether it's opening the email, okay, so they didn't and they blocked it and I couldn't see to open it, that's fine. Because I'm going to get them when they're really excited about the words I put in my email or the event they want to register to. So that will help drive that. Outside of that, there's not much you can do about the the inability to track if someone doesn't want to. I take it that was an internal personal question of like, how do you block people from knowing?
I was going to ask, so just general,
Yep.
like if you roll into the marketing department and then we want dynamics marketing,
Yep.
and there will be, we'll just take it and we'll just wing it and we'll do it.
Well,
That's disaster, or
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster. 9 times out of 10, they're not the ones that are telling them. So 9 times out of 10, they're being told that you have to take dynamics marketing. So straight off the bat, when you go in there, you're on the back foot because automatically they're like, we don't like you. We don't like what you've got to offer. We've always used MailChimp. MailChimp's amazing. You have to relate to them in context of that sales lead, the end-to-end journey. Like it's the ROI. Like if you get in them and go, okay, cool. You create a bunch of leads. Yeah, we create a bunch of leads. What do you do with it then? Oh, we put them in an Excel list. We give them to the sales team. Cool. How many of those are converted? I don't know. Okay, so you spent $1,000 at the conference. Yep. You want to go next year? Yep. How many leads did you convert? I don't know. Oh, okay, cool. Well, if we could tell you converted 70% of those leads and they generated an average revenue of $2.5 million, don't you think it's a lot easier to ask for 2,000 next year, or 10,000 next year, or 15,000? So I tend to angle it from it's in your best interest marketing team, because without it, you aren't valued. And it's the biggest, once you start talking to marketers in that context, they're like, yeah, we're not. And it's like, well, you're not because you've got no traceability. It goes all the way back to the very start. And while I'm talking dynamics marketing, so it actually doesn't matter whether it's, I'd never force dynamics marketing on someone's throat. Mark, go in there, we love Marketo. Okay, cool. Well, let's, at a business context, understand what that is you need. And once you realize, oh, your business context says you do need Marketo, perfect. That's when we go to the semi-integrated. So no worries, but at bare minimum, we need to integrate Marketo. Okay. HubSpot's another good example. HubSpot's really good at native lead generation. And we've had some customers that go, no, I need HubSpot. It's part of our critical business process. But then we'll typically go with the handover of that lead being created. That's when you integrate it to Dynamics and your Dynamics solution takes over. So you can also do a semi-hybrid as you need based on those marketing team. Yeah. What time do I go to?
You got maybe half an hour to go. So.
All right, cool.
And this is on at 10:50, and we'll do it 15 minutes before.
So okay, cool. All right.
20 minutes. Wow.
Go on. I will go on, as you guys have clearly established. This is something I'm clearly passionate about and like. So, hence why I'm quite happy to talk about this anytime. Segmentation. All right. So we've got these emails, we've sent text messages. That's cool. How do we know who to send it to? Oh, good point. Okay. Well, we want to send a journey. We've got this cool journey. It's going to send an invite. And then if they, who are we sending it to? Oh, you're right. That's a good point. Right. So all of that is what we call segmentation. And it's about grouping people for the ability to target or untarget them from marketing things. Good example is I work a bit with a car distributor. They've got 5 different brands, but if one brand loses the sale, but another brand picks up the sale, that's actually not a lost sale because they've stayed inside your network. So they've used negative segments to make sure that when I'm targeting people that have lost sales, I'm not targeting people that actually haven't lost sales, right? So segments can not only be grouping people to include, but can also be grouping people to exclude. Good example, you build a segment in your Dynamics of all your competitors. And before you do any outbound email, you just don't send it to any of my competitors. We all know that if you're a good competitor, you're probably on your competitor's website, you're probably looking, you're probably clicking, you're probably registering, you're probably seeing how. So you may choose to want to block that. So that's another good example of a negative segment. But again, there's a whole bunch of other box predefined ones. Just like everything I'm talking about today, there's a very different experience from real-time to outbound. But that's because real-time uses triggers. So that's why I'm going to cover a little bit around triggers versus segmentation. And when it comes to outbound, the behavioral segments are so much cooler. So it's really important. So the main thing here is I want to show you is what does the outbound marketing segment look like? And what does the real-time marketing segment look like? Because those are going to also help you define which route you go. Because based on what triggers you need to use, you may decide to go outbound because I want the out-of-the-box triggers and I don't have internal budget to be able to spin up my own triggers. So all these are just more variables that come into consideration when trying to decide if Dynamics marketing is right for us. So, demo gods, right, let's go. Of course, the second I come back to it's open. All right, so what I will just super quickly, because I think it's just really powerful to show, I will just show. So remember when I wanted to put personalization in before, I could bring in some additional personalization options. I could bring in variables. I could, so let's just, for example, I could predefine values. Well, here, if I want this particular content block or this particular content block or this section, if I want this shown and hidden based on 2 different types, all I have to do is click this little button here, enable conditional content. And now what it's done is it's actually enabled that personalization to allow me to, based on different logic, determine what image is shown. But let me move it. There we are. Segments. So dynamics, these are outbound segments now. Outbound, not real time. When it comes to outbound, you've got a bunch of predefined templates. These are the equivalent of the journey triggers that I'm going to show you next. So when you read these are typically written for the purpose of being able to trigger a journey. And these are just some pre-built one Microsoft think you want out of the box. You know, if I attended a session, if I attended an event, you know, if I clicked on an email, I don't know, maybe if I have a lead, again, can't target the leads, but I can see if I have a lead. So again, even though the lead is mentioned, you can't target the lead. You know, do I have a pass for an event? You know, have I opened an email? Have I bounced an email? Have I registered for an event? So there's all these predefined ones. But we're going to be adventurous today. We're going to go nothing. So a blank segment. There are 2 main types. I can do segment, query-based or behavior-based. I can also use native language. So I can just type in a question, bring me all customers who live in city equals Auckland. And it gives you a bunch of predefined ones, which are all Americanized, but it does also keep and remember you the ones you've used. So if I was to use, for example, contacts in Canada, what's going to happen is when I pick that, it's automatically going to build my query for me. As you can see, address 1_country equals Canada. So when it comes to building these query blocks, you can either write native language or you can just pull any variable from any of these records within inside the system. So you can go, you know, city equals Auckland, product preference equals dynamics, attended event equals yes. You can build a range of that, but you can also build what we call behavioral blocks. And this is where they're very similar to triggers, because out of the box, and I want to read a bunch of them, but I won't, there's so many of them. These are things that a trigger or a behavior has happened. So I want a person to be in a segment. So good example, if I click this email, will add me to a segment called emails clicked. Bounce is a really good one. You get negative scores if you're getting bounces. So it's encouraging to always, when you get a hard bounce, to take the hard bounce and validate why it's bounced. Create a task for the account manager to call the customer. Okay, the person's moved on. Building a segment to automatically email an internal person or create a task would be anytime a hard bounce exists, create a journey and create a task for the account manager who owns that contact. But you can do so many cool things in here, right? So someone's visited our website, someone's visited a form, hasn't submitted it, they've just visited. So the call to action was to click on the email. The person hasn't allowed us to see they've clicked on it. That's cool because we got you when you landed on the form. And not only did we see when you land on the form, we see what form you're on, we see what pages you're on, we see what navigation you're doing around our website. So I'm never too worried if I don't get a click response, because we always encourage our content to be good enough that the click is always there, and therefore the fact that you're not tracking the opens is irrelevant, because a click tells you more than an open. Because what you can do is when it comes to newsletters, for example, you know, you got your 6 different products. Well, if I click on one of those products, you should automatically be adding me to a segment saying interested in that product. Because I'm not clicking on that product because I just felt like clicking on it. The chances are I'm clicking on it because I want to know more about it. What you then do is use that personalization. So next newsletter they get, all of a sudden the banner is the product they want. So the first one we sent was generic. We knew nothing about them. But then as they're traveling down their journey, they're visiting our website. Oh, okay, you visited that page. Perfect. That means you're interested in mowers. We're going to tag you as being interested in mowers. And next time we mail to you, there's going to be a big lawnmower at the top. It's crazy how much you can do, but it's all in these out of the box triggers. You know, when someone's added to a marketing list, when someone responds to a survey, when someone clicks on a website, like I don't want to go through them all because there's so many of them. But these are what we call outbound triggers. So while they actually look like segments and they're called segments and their behavior, we actually use them traditionally to do the outbound trigger of the journey. So that the journey triggers on a segment, the segment triggers on the behavior. So when the behavior happens, the person gets added and therefore the journey starts. That versus the real-time segments, you'll be like, what? So real-time segments is only about filtering contact or lead details. So it doesn't get too intense down to those behavioral things or those triggers. So you can come in here and you can get a sample, and we're going to create a thing that targets leads. Looks very different. Before it brings you all the attributes, you can write some real-time questions, but it doesn't bring you those really rich behavioral triggers. That is where, and I've said the word a couple of times, triggers comes in. So, bit of a slight recap. Outbound marketing, I build a segment to be the trigger for my journey, and then I use things like behavioral blocks to determine who adds to a segment to then trigger the journey. However, when you then move across and you go to real-time marketing, you either can start from a segment or you can start from a trigger. And this is where the custom triggers. So out of the box, they give you these triggers I'm going to read out, but then you can create your own custom triggers anytime. You heard the example, the Wi-Fi one. That's a really cool example. Again, I said it before, it's about your imagination. Often with marketers and marketing, it's about what do you want to do from a business context? Because once I know what you want from a business context, I can let the marketing solution do it. But it's similar stuff to the other one, but it's just not the same. For example, there's no website click on here. There's push notifications. There's text notifications. There's opportunities created. There's leads created. There's marketing events checked in. All these marketing events ones, you're like, oh, those seem like behavioral stuff, Michael. You said it doesn't do it. Well, it doesn't do it. These need customer insights. So there's a tool that connects into Dynamics Marketing to allow you to do advanced segmentation. It's another license cost. It's another configuration. It's just, it's an intense product that isn't just like, oh, just click next, done. At that point, you can build your segments in your customer insights, and then your triggers can listen to those customer insights segments. So I hope it didn't confuse you. I probably did, but that's okay because when you start getting towards this granularity, that's what consultants and partners are for. Like, get us in, get us talking to you, because that's the stuff that we will help you, allow you to focus on the business so we can focus on the solution, right? So we're not going to go in there and go, do you want to target leads? We're going to go, what are your marketing efforts, and have them naturally identify the fact they target leads. And, oh, we also got a field days all the time. Oh, we've got a stand. Oh, we've got a mobile app. You've got a mobile app. Oh, perfect. And then all of a sudden that journey starts. You start building your custom journeys, custom triggers. Yeah, and over time, you build a really good, robust marketing solution. So far, I know this is a lot of information. And any questions? You can have one trigger, but you can have multiple segments. Yeah, your trigger. And the other thing you can do on your trigger, you can put conditional filtering on the trigger. So you may not want the trigger you build to be super granular in detail, because then you have to build a new one every time you want it. So you build your trigger to be like lead created, and then not lead created in Auckland, just lead created. Trigger, then you put a filter to only trigger when it is Auckland. So again, that's where the disconnect between the two outbound and real-time is. The other thing I'll also say for any partner out here that's trying to deliver Dynamics Marketing, what we find works is not us doing it for you, is you doing it for yourselves, right? So we say the difference between a Dynamics Marketing implementation and a CRM implementation. CRM, they're actually building everything for them. You know, I want a business process flow, you're building that for them. I want to work for this, you're building that for them. Whereas for Dynamics Marketing, my preferred approach is train them, upskill them, hold their hands for the first two, be quiet, but let them do it while you're there for the next two. And then those final ones, just step away. Because we don't want to build email templates. You guys are marketers. That's what you guys do. We want to build a system to allow you to communicate those emails. But the actual building of those emails, the building of the forms, the building of the surveys, we don't want to be involved. We want to build your advanced triggers when you need a new trigger built. But your BAU stuff, to empower the marketing team to say that they don't need us, is really important. But also just as important is understanding that means you can't just deploy marketing and go, cool, where's the next customer? Because they will not be adopted. I can guarantee you from my experience of working on it over the years, and this is not specific to marketing, this is anything. If you're not there for the journey, but more so for marketing because it's more a hand-holding journey after the fact, don't do it. No one's going to win from a person losing faith in the Dynamics platform because you watched a video and thought you could just quickly give them Dynamics marketing and then move on to the next customer. It's really important. We get them a lot. We come across them and like, this could have been done better. My advice is just do better for the customer, and don't try flog if a product doesn't meet their needs.
Michael, I'll give you a question. Power Automate.
Yes.
Actions and trigger conditions.
Yes.
Are they the same as they are in the product, or do you have to do all of them in the product? So I've got some other system like my hybrid world stuff, and I want to get something from my thing, do something else with it.
Yeah, you can totally build it. My advice on that one is actually to assess, does it get built as a trigger, or is it actually just data manipulation after the fact? So then, are you building a Power Automate off the back of a submitted event to move stuff around and to do the things, or do you actually need it contextually as part of that journey? Yeah. One thing I didn't cover is you can, based on the trigger, you can pass trigger variables into your emails. So if you triggered on that external system and the Wi-Fi, and you wanted to pass your Mac ID, I know it's a weird one. Proves me I'm too techie. I want to, here's your Mac address. Like, okay. You can do that. The Power Automate pulls that, pass it as a variable. Your email template then uses that variable to insert it as a, yeah.
And then I know, like, so is that like Business Central, right? The triggers and the actions are a bit only the mainstream. So if you build custom things inside of marketing, then they won't be available in Power Automate, or would they?
Yeah, so it's the database is accessible. So when I showed the branding stuff before and I built those fields, that was one of the few examples of the marketing entity living in Dynamics. There's a couple of really cool ones. Another really cool one is the form submissions. Oh, thank gosh, that was in there. We've got a beautiful Microsoft case study from Manawanui on that if you want to read it, global Microsoft one, specifically on that function existing. If it didn't exist, this marketing product is not a usable solution. The biggest, I think, problem moving forward is that not enough of this information lives in Dynamics for us Dynamics or consultants. And so as a result, you have to use customer insights to do just some basic marketing. Like the fact I can't, in Dynamics, click on a contact and see all links they click without clicking an Insights tab, which then presents a grid, which then actually pulls the external data and presents it in a different user interface than all other views and forms in Dynamics. Once that gets fixed, then I can't see any other barriers. It's my only remaining barrier that sometimes prevents us from going live with this. Now, while the next session's not till 10:02, I'm conscious you guys need a break between. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bit of a quick fire because I feel like if you're still with me at this point, which thankfully I'm seeing eyes looking back at me, it's nice, just know that how hard it is to present something like Dynamics marketing in a 45-minute session. I mean, I could talk for 45 minutes on every last little feature. So event management, we'll keep it simple. But the cool thing is it's out of the box, all pre-built in. The one gotcha is if you want to use the portal, it is out of the box and it is pre-built and it's all lovely. You just have to have the portal license. It's a really, really critical. If you could take nothing away from this other than that, you're going to save yourself a bunch of unhappy customers. In Dynamics marketing, if you want to build a landing page, put a form on build a form, not embed, build a form on a page. Yeah, no. Events portal out of the box, all it needs is portal license. Yeah, so you go and sell the vision, the customer's like, excellent, I'm going to build a form, and you're like, oh, hold off. And like, well, I want to put it on a page. Like, well, that page, where's the page? It's like, on marketing. I'm like, no. So if a customer has a really good website partner, it's not a problem. Because they're like, oh, good, we don't want your silly portal. Well, we've got a nice, rich website. We want to brand it like everything else. So it's not that big of a deal. We've got a lot of customers that do have that. But for your smaller customer that want an off-the-shelf product, to do end-to-end Dynamics marketing, it is an annoying barrier. And it didn't always exist, and it's a new thing. So if you find an article out there that says it comes with it, check the date. Teams integration, and that's one of the most amazing features, and I'll show you that in a second. Session tracks and agenda. It's a full rich event management solution, and it is one of those things where it just looks better when you actually see it. So I've built Microsoft Ignite. I don't know if you guys know this, but I run it. There's only 130 people that can register. It's a small Microsoft Ignite this year. But I can, in Dynamics, I can configure all the things you'd expect, start, end date. But there's this really cool Teams integration. So while I can't necessarily integrate into all the external webinar providers, what I can do is tell you that Teams is enterprise grade and is an amazing product, and you don't need those other ones because we've got Teams. And you're going to tell me there's limitations. I'm going to tell you I can't hear you. But two different options. You've got Teams webinars, you've got Teams meetings. Don't confuse the two. To a range of settings. But if you are confused, when you pick webinars and you set the fact you want to change and configure all your options, this is why it's amazing. Anyone who's tried to organize a Teams event for a mass conference and all of a sudden people unmute themselves, we had it today. We had a quick response from people muting them, but I don't know. I can tell people that they can't unmute because this is a Microsoft Ignite. I don't want some random person. So as part of building the event and building the Teams invite, I can literally just configure all the options as if I'm in Teams. So, I can come in here and go, or who can bypass the lobby? Do I want to record the session automatically? It would be great. For these prime examples, you don't have to worry about trying to get someone to start it, especially when you're not the meeting organizer. Nothing's more frustrating. And then allowing meeting chat. So I wanted to show this because not a lot of marketing solutions out there that support Teams will actually allow you to configure all those options inside the application. And that's the joy of Microsoft owning Teams, is because it's our product, we can do this. So that I wanted to show you because it's really incredible. You'll see the other stuff, which again, if you want to, there's a whole section there, sort of stuff. You can build sessions, multi-day events, keynotes, hotel management. It's fully robust. You've got a full-blown agenda across multiple days. You've got sessions. You've got so it's prime. Like our event today, we could have done the whole thing by Dynamics Event Management.
We tried that 2 years ago, but it was good.
Who tried it though?
Hamish.
Yeah. So I'm allowed to say this. I'm allowed to say this because Hamish was my previous boss, so I'm allowed to say this. But yes. There are ways you can do it, and there are other ways you can't do it. But I love Hamish, so feel free to tell him that because he'll enjoy a good laugh. But
it's come a long way in the last 2 years, right? That's what we'll say.
It will stay. It's because it's where we've come for 2 years. Exactly. So now I've got this nice event portal, which I got given because all I had was my portal license, and I can see all these beautiful Microsoft Contoso events. Oh, what are these? These Power Platform events. Oh, awesome. Someone's put the user group events in here. Oh, they've made them recurring on the second Tuesday of every month. Perfect. So you can see it's automatically worked out the second Tuesday of every month. You'll see in here is my Microsoft Ignite event. So again, if you've got a good website, you can actually not doing this and you can just do the links on your website, build on your website. But if you're a smaller customer and you want to do this, or you're a larger customer and you want to actually invest in a portal, a proper event portal, this is perfect for it. I click on my Ignite event. You'll see it comes in through, allows me to register, it gives me my details, gives me all the sessions. I can click on the sessions. I can click on my different days. I can see the different tracks. If I was more active, I would have put all the lovely branding logos here. But as I said, I only created this 2 days ago and effort reward just wasn't there. So I love you guys, but not that much. But I did also not create these. These are also out of the box. But also these lovely speakers that could be at our event. And then, I want to click on a speaker. It takes me to the speaker. It presents the sessions. I want to run passes, multi-day event passes. All of this is out of the box. Everything I'm showing you now was literally just going next. There's a session that starts this end date. So very, very simple. But if you're running multi-day event, it is so powerful, and it's all out of the box. The one thing I will say, sometimes I shoot myself in the foot when I tell you the faults, but I think it's important that you know the faults. You've spun this up. You're like, Michael, you're amazing. It's everything I need. I can upload custom images. Perfect. No, not perfect. That date is not New Zealand format. And you cannot set it to New Zealand format unless you modify the portal, because this all sits on a portal. Yeah, we see shaking heads because come on, 101. But up until 6-7 months ago, you couldn't even do time zones on customer journeys. So it is coming, and I'm not saying that because I know it, but it better be, because it's just frustrating because it's such a small thing that doesn't allow this to be picked off the shelf and just be used perfectly. So I told you it. Don't shoot me for it. Also, in 6 months' time, if it does update, thank Microsoft. Don't be angry at me for lying. That's a fact. So I just want to kind of cover it off a little bit. And then lastly, because I'm not going to have enough time because I've run out of time, I just want to talk and just at least tell you what these are. So if you want to do surveys, customer voice integration. So a Microsoft product called Customer Voice seamlessly integrates for all intents and purposes. It may as well be Dynamics Marketing, but technically it is a separate offering, so I do mention it. Dataverse content personalization somewhat relates to Richard's question, but now they've allowed you to pull and personalize information from any tables within inside your Dataverse, not just within inside your tenant, quote unquote, or Dynamics. So you can then configure personalization settings. Team chat integration. So as you're working on an email template, you can chat with your marketing colleagues. They can be, yeah, looks great. Can't wait to see it. You can create those personalized chat. Matching logic is great. You know, most email marketing applications only allow email matching. Matching logic allows you to find, like you could have a customer ID. Okay, match only on customer ID. You could have a cell phone number. You could have a customer ID, first name, last name, and only match it to that person if the customer ID, first name, and last name match. Like, your matching logic is advanced fine. If you use advanced fine, you just write a query for all intents and purposes. Landing pages, again, 45 minutes, could have spent half an hour alone on landing pages, forms hosted. One thing I'll say about forms, I wouldn't recommend you build a marketing form and use that as the sole purpose of the form. I recommend you integrate your forms to your website, either via hosting or embedding. It's all out of the box. Click next, done. Copy, paste, give it to your website provider. Microsoft ones are cool and all, but any out of the box one just always looks a bit ugly, and you've got to spend a bunch of effort to make it look pretty. Whereas your website partners already make things look pretty, so it's easier for them just to continue making the world pretty. Power BI and customer insights. I mentioned that. Be warned, customer insights has a separate cost, but it's kind of needed if you want to do anything really advanced. URL redirects, great. I've got an external page I have no control over. There's a banner ad on that. I've got no control over that. I want to send them to field days. I've got no control over that. But I did pay for the ad. So what I can do is I can take that field days link. I can pass into Dynamics. Dynamics will give me a Dynamics link. The ad now links to my Dynamics link. The user doesn't know. They click on the link. It fires via Dynamics, lands them at field days. They're happy days. They land at www.fielddays.co.nz. But what's happened in the middle is that we've got a transactional interaction of that happening. So we know that Michael Biggs clicked on that ad. I didn't control the website, didn't control the ad, didn't control the landing page where it landed, but I did control the link I gave to that ad. Activity timelines. Emails are finally now appearing in the timeline view along with all your other activities, emails, appointments, phone calls. If you're using a sales team, they'll love that. If you're doing anything, this is a big one, GDPR compliance, built out of the box, double opt-in, built out of the box. With GDPR compliance, it also relates to European citizens. So if you're capturing things like, especially universities who capture location of citizenship, once you start doing that, you have an obligation. So if you have no need to capture the location, sometimes it's easier because once you know the location, you have to implement GDPR. But out of the box, social posts, social calendar integration, scoring models to allow leads to put their hand up automatically, and LinkedIn lead integration.
We've reached that point in the time of the show where you've got to do a giveaway.
Oh, got to do a giveaway. Thank you.
Everybody wants it.
All right. So I guess the easier question, I think, too easy, and it's just the first person I see. So, good one. Marketing, leads, matching. What did we cover last? Licensing. Okay. What license considerations did I mention that are really important when selling Dynamics Marketing? Portal. I'm sorry, we got you got it there. So come on up, grab a t-shirt, pick the t-shirt of your choice. Sizing's there. Thank you, everyone. I know we're a little bit over, but you've still got 10 minutes for morning tea, so hopefully I haven't robbed you of too much time. Thank you.